run through with you how I sew up feather and fan. It is a very interesting stitch because you've got 3 rows of stocking stitch and then 1 row of reverse stocking stitch, and the idea is to match up these rows of the reverse stocking stitch to make it look like there's not a seam. So my seam goes up the centre here, and that's half a stitch in from either edge, and you can see it looks very similar to what we have going on in the main pattern. So I've got my neck warmer here, it's all knitted up. The pattern for this can be found on the website. I'll pop a link in the description down below. And we're just going to thread our needle. So I'm starting on the cast on edge. If I run out of a tail end from that edge, I will then go on and use the cast off edge. First of all though, we just need to connect the 2 sides together. So all I'm going to do is pick up that first little loop from the cast on edge on the opposite side from where the slip knot would have been. Just pull that through. I'm going half a stitch in on the side where the slip knot was, and then just pulling that through, and we've closed up that first little bit. Now the first bit we've got going on here is a stocking stitch row. So I'm going to, same side that my needle's already on, I'm going to pick up one little leg, so that's half a stitch in, there's the very edge, this is the next one. And then half a stitch in on this side, that's the very edge, so I'm going into this one and all the way through. Now we've got a reverse stocking stitch. So instead of going back through, when we've got a reverse stocking stitch I do a whip stitch. So I go back over the seam, half a stitch in, and half a stitch in, and then through. Now I'm going back over to finish off creating this little fake reverse stocking stitch, and we've got a stocking stitch for a couple of rows. So all I'm going to do is half a stitch in, going through that way, and now I'm going back. So I'm already on this side, I'm going back that way because we're doing stocking stitch. Back that way. Now we're at a reverse stocking stitch again. So instead of coming back, I'm going over. So that one to that one. And then we're going back over to finish off doing that fake little pearl bump. And half a stitch in, so we've got stocking stitch for 3 rows. Half a stitch in, I'm going to pick up that little leg of the V, and then that little leg of the V. Already on this side, and we've got a stocking stitch. So we go and do a little ladder stitch, and then again we're at a pearl bump. So we go over, and then come back over to go back onto the stocking stitch. My tail end from my cast on edge is getting quite short now, so I'm actually going to switch over and go from the cast off edge. So I'm just going to complete this little bump by just going back through that pearl. I'm not fastening that off at the moment because we don't want too much bulk in the seam, so we will fasten that off when we meet that way with the cast off edge. Now matching up to close up this cast off edge, I'm just finding this little set of V's along the top line. I'm going to go through both of those little V's and through, and now that first one on the other side, I'm just going through that front bit. So not both, just that front little bit. Pull that closed. And we've got a purl to a purl, and we're on this side, so I'm going over. So pick up and pick up. Now we're on to 3 rows of knit. And just on the last wee bit here. And this is where our end of our cast on edge finished. So I'm just going to poke that one through there, and same with the tail end from the cast on. Turn it inside out. I'm just going to do a simple double knot. Now to weave my ends in, I've got a really nice little ridge where I can take my ends, because we put half a stitch on each side into the seam. I'm going to take one end that way and one end that way, and that's just to make sure we don't have too much bulk in the seam. This seam sits quite flat. Obviously you're taking half a stitch in, so it's not going to be as flat as if you've knitted in the round. So I'm just picking up a few loops, needle through, and then back through. This is the first loop, and back through some of them. And trim that end off, and do the same on the other. I will show you the finished result, which is along here, and it looks so similar to the rest of the knitting. We've matched up all our little purl bumps nicely, creating a fake purl stitch. We've matched up along our cast on, our cast off edge. We've matched up those little V's, and along the cast on edge. Not quite as neat, but we've still matched it up pretty well. I absolutely love this feather and fan pattern. So as I was saying, we've got the pattern on our website for both the neck warmer and wrist warmers, and that's in double knit and 4-ply. So if you've knitted it and you've got no idea how to sew it up, I really hope you have found this video helpful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you very soon. Happy crafting! Bye!